basically he said he proposed a deal, what Ukraine should propose to Russia to basically stop the war.
Okay.
And if you remember, when the war first started, Elon supplied Ukraine with
Starlink.
Starlink.
Yeah, I remember that.
So they've been using that for like a lot of military communication. So then Elon came out, I think it was last week or the week before, and said, basically tweeted a deal that Ukraine should do with Russia and basically try and stop the war and stop it escalating. So he put
Peace.
that
Is
tweet
it
out.
related to peace talks?
Yeah, peace talk deal.
Okay.
Um, but what's Ukraine's prime minister called? Zelensky? Zelensky?
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
that's it. Zelensky. He basically didn't agree with what Elon was saying and kind of turned against him. Another ambassador in Germany, a Ukrainian ambassador in Germany, basically he literally told him to fuck off.
Oh, right. Well, them exact words.
Yeah. So, but after what Elon's already done for the country, for them to sort of, and all he's doing is trying to make like peace in the region. Yes, I can see where that's sort of coming from. Is like Russia's taken this territory away from us, so they want to fight for it.
Mm.
Or Elon's just thinking, what? How can we end this war as soon as possible? Because it's not causing any. It's causing the world more issues than it's worth, really.
Yeah, it's not causing any good. And I don't really know much about the history of the areas which Putin took over. Do you know much on that?
No, but I know that I think they're quite heavily populated with Russian people
Yes,
from Russian origins. So they're
very
quite those areas
pro-Russian
are quite
people.
pro Russia anyway.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I knew they were pro-Russia. Well, that's what the referendum came out and said. It's hard to know what's actually going on because we're hearing the narrative that the West want to push on us, which we're seeing more and more that it's not actually the full picture. So it's hard to
Yeah,
actually know what's going on. Obviously, we can use our own sources, but then how reliable are those sources?
it's hard because there's propaganda from like the Western media and there's propaganda from the Russian media.
Yeah,
The truth obviously lies somewhere in the middle of them both.
yeah,
But it's sort of like how can you work out the truth if you don't if you all you're being fed is lies from both sides.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, I think it's getting to a point now. The war's like it doesn't seem to be de-escalating by any means. I felt like it was de-escalating. We weren't really hearing much about it, but then this past couple of weeks, it just seems to have escalated at tenfold.
Well, yeah, over the weekend, it escalated
Yeah,
because
well, since the pipeline, I think,
yeah, and then yeah, the pipeline,
and the referendums.
and then yeah, it was the pipeline first, then the referendum. So they took over them places, and then following that was the bridge
Yeah,
blew up, and
that
then
was this weekend, wasn't it? And
yeah,
then
and then in retaliation to Ukraine or whoever blew up the bridge, Russia then bombed certain embassies and government buildings within Ukraine. So I heard something that Putin said that he wants to. What was it? I don't know. I can't say the exact words, but it was along the lines of he, if they try and do anything after he's taken those places, um, if they try and do anything, Ukraine, he will retaliate, but he wants to do it with as minimal casualties as possible. So I don't feel like Putin actually wants this war. Um, it's hard to say that because obviously he wants to take that, but I think he's seeing Ukraine as more of a threat than. And if he just sits back and let them be a threat, then they're just going to end up walking all over Russia. So he needs to sort of defend himself early. and that's what
Yeah,
it seems. That's what from everything that I've been looking at. That's what I'm sort of leaning towards now. Is he's seen Ukraine getting backed up by the West and the big NATO posse coming after Russia, an anti-Russia group. He's seen it as a threat, and he's trying to defend against that threat early rather than later. And he is doing it sort of somewhat civil in comparison to what the media's portraying it as, and in comparison to if he was an actual maniac as we thought he was, then he would be doing it in a completely different way.
yeah, it'd be a lot more aggressive than how he has been. He
Yeah,
seems to be a bit more tactical in his thinking,
yeah,
which if it's a psycho, if like, the media is making out that he's some psychopath, so but from his actions, it doesn't really seem like he's just wanting to bomb the shit out of Ukraine. Otherwise, that would have happened in March, and he would have just destroyed all of Ukraine, and then nothing's left.
yeah,
But he's not done that, and I think he's using nukes as a bargaining chip for the West to sort of bow down.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But I just don't know which way it's going to go.
Well, did you watch yesterday's Redacted?
No.
So it seems like Putin keeps making these statements about what he will do, and the West are saying he's thinking he's bluffing, and then they and Ukraine just do whatever they think's right anyway, and then he does what he said he was going to do. So he's not bluffing, and I don't know. I think the West and Ukraine need to be a bit careful because he we're all so the media showing him as a threat to Europe, but then Russia's seeing Ukraine or NATO as a threat to Russia. Well,
Yeah.
who can possibly win this when both
When both
sides?
sides are seeing each side as a threat.
Yeah, it's there's no, and then obviously each side don't want peace talks. There's no happy ending in this, and I don't
Yeah.
know. Do you think Putin would want peace talks if this is what I feel like? Putin might, and I don't have the whole picture. I'm just saying going off what the information I know at the moment. Putin, now he's taken them areas, might want like be willing to calm down as long as everyone else calms down, and the US stop pumping so much money into fucking Ukraine.
I think from my limited knowledge of what's going on is if NATO and Ukraine said, Russia, you can have the regions you've taken, like they're yours, and Ukraine will not join NATO,
Yeah,
then everything just ends there.